Every day can't be filled with active trout. Some days they're simply off and they aren't doing a lot of moving. Maybe a cold front rolled through, maybe it's early in the season and the cold water has them slow, or maybe it's the dog days of summer. For whatever reason, it happens. Maybe you see a fish rise, once, and that's it. If the water's clear, maybe you can sneak up the bank and try to see the fish. If there's structure, there is likely a trout holding tight to it on these days. Understanding that resting trout will recede and rest at specific lies will help you find a few fish to work. There are a few things you can do when you see or suspect that a trout is holding on a bit of structure but isn't doing much. Even if you can't see the fish, you might try the same following sequence in fishing to that structure. We often use this sequence of flies and casting. The first thing to try is a larger dry fly like a stimulator, an oversized elk-hair caddis, or terrestrial patterns. Instead of casting tight to structure right away, test the waters by casting a few feet out. Trout have a lateral line of nerves that detect food dropping onto the water's surface, and landing a few feet out allows it to come to the food. This helps to not spook the trout by landing a larger dry fly on its head. The next cast is with the same dry fly, going tight to the trout, landing immediately outside or in the seam running along that structure. In this case, the trout isn't doing much inside the seam, so it's possible it will see the big dry fly drift into its feeding line and decide it can't pass up an easy meal. If there's no response, it's likely a good idea to size down. A smaller elk-hair caddis or Adams is a good choice. Sluggish trout don't travel far, so the cast has to be tight into the seam. If you choose a caddis, you might try a skid or drag to give it life to induce a reaction. It's not as likely a sluggish trout is going to arise to small dry as a one-off rise. It's possible, but what's most likely is that it will eat a dropper nymph. In this case, the brown isn't holding very deep, so a 1-foot dropper will likely drift the nymph at mouth height in the water column. Again, you need to cast slightly upstream of the structure point in order to sink the fly to depth in time to match the drift. By now you're likely about to give up. There's still one more thing. Repeat that dry dropper cast, but this time as the dry dropper comes within a foot of the trout or structure, do a little skitter of the dry to induce some lifting life to the nymph. Sometimes that's just enough to entice the sluggish trout to eat anyway. As a stroke of luck in filming this video topic, that's exactly when this nice brown decided to eat. Do note that through the sequence of flies and tactics used, the casting was economical and accurate. Amelia only did each cast and presentation once, and the casts were spot on to a fish that she couldn't see from her vantage due to glare. Through my call and cast locations and her understanding of trout water reading, she was able to place the flies where they needed to be and accept the result and make adjustments before trying the next fly and presentation. Sometimes you do have to be spot on accurate and economical with cast count in order to not cause disturbance on the water surface to not spook the trout, whether you see them holding on structure or not.